Hello and welcome to the Allo.Capital podcast. If you're just joining us, this season we are summoning Allo Capital, a new spinout from Gitcoin that is designed to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. We think there's big upside here. Capital allocation is a $1 trillion design space. VCs, governments, NGOs, DAOs all have to allocate capital to solve their problems. But it's also a place where we can start small. Every time you spend money, you are allocating capital. We are threading a through line partnering with builders, mechanism designers, researchers, and funders to figure out what on-chain, post-AI, post-New World Order capital allocation will look like and building it on-chain on Ethereum. If you want to learn more, you can visit our website at allo.capital, where you can download the Allo books for free, play with some of our dApps, join the Telegram, or participate in the DAO. All right. Today, I have a special episode for you. This is a episode in which we're going to play a recording of the first meeting of the Allominati, which is a playful way of talking about the community of builders, mechanism designers, and patron NFT holders that have assembled around Allo Capital. On this episode, we are going to show off some of the things that we've been cooking at Allo.Capital, basically an update from me on where I've been spending my time, the data of how Allo.Capital is trending. And then we get into actually using capital allocation mechanisms to cohere the Allo.Capital network. So we've raised 16 ETH from the Allo Capital patron sale that was announced at ETHDenver. We are going to be putting that money, why can't I speak today? That money behind a series of capital allocation mechanisms that are going to support the coherence and relationality of the Allo.Capital community and to help them go on research raids and to work together in order to help each other in exploring the design space of on-chain capital allocation. And the people that are building ventures in this space, I think, can really benefit from access to the Allo network through the structures that we've set up. So without further ado, I'm going to play the recording. The next voice you hear will be me facilitating the call of the Allominati. Enjoy. Okay. All right. So I've put an agenda together that I have pinned in the chat. The goal today is to convene the Allominati. So to basically to create coherence around what we're doing here at Allo.Capital. I'm thinking that we will spend 10 minutes on my stuff, and then we'll go into the ProtoDAO coordination experiments, and then we'll do AMA and discussion from there. So any questions about that agenda, let me know. And if not, I will go right into it. All right. So some table setting. What are we doing here? Allo.Capital is a spin out that we've pulled some IP out of Gitcoin and have formed a new company and ProtoDAO around it that is shooting for building the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. We basically think that this is going to be a really huge thing over the next 10 years. We're going to see 10x or 100x more assets tokenized, and that there's going to be an opportunity to help those communities and ecosystems allocate capital against whatever their shared needs are, and that we are going to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet by helping them solve their problems, allocate tokens to their biggest problems. And this is explicitly not just public goods anymore. We're going to be working on shared needs from impact in public goods, but also private goods and profit allocation. So basically, we've got 2 years to figure out how we want to do this and how we're going to do this. That's the amount of capital that we've been able to pull out of Gitcoin and raise in the ProtoDAO summoning. And on that time horizon, I'm hopeful that we're going to figure out a way to increase the amount of flow going through the Allo network, which I'll get into in a second here. But before I do that, the thing that I want to provide a warning to in sort of a little bit of table setting here is that we're early. This is the frontier. Allo ProtoDAO is very much in a primordial soup phase. We're still figuring out exactly what this is, how we coordinate with each other, and we're still orienting towards our North Star. And I'm purposefully sharing a lot of this stuff before it's fully baked with a lot of you, because I want to invite you along on the journey. I want you all to have a first row seat on everything that is being built here. But please don't expect that everything is totally put together. If this was a town on the western frontier, I think that there would be a couple buildings that have been completely created, but a lot of things are under construction, and we're still figuring out exactly the parameters of everything. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to take us through from here, and then I will break and hand it off to our amazing ProtoDAO coordination experiments. The first thing I want to talk about is a data update. We've defined a KPI of TVF, total value flowed within the Allo network, to be a key performance indicator of what the Allo network is doing. I'm not saying the key performance indicator, because I think there's going to be other metrics that matter, and also total value flowed would be totally gameable if we were to like imbue it as the one metric within the network. But basically, total value flowed is the amount of money that have gone through Allo protocol and things associated with Allo. So if you click over to this Dune dashboard, which Umar made, thank you so much, Umar, for doing that. You can see that $15.8 million has flowed through what we are defining as the Allo network right now. And you can see breakdowns by token and by blockchain. And I think Umar is going to add a graph so that you can see how it flows over time. But yeah, Umar says in the chat, that's V1 and more to come. And if you click into this sheet right here, you can see all of the different contracts on all of the different blockchains that are out there that we define as the Allo network right now. So basically, the way this is architected is such that if there's ETH or ERC20 transfers in and out of these contracts, that is counted as total value flowed for the network. And the initial set of contracts that we've put in there are the initial Gitcoin contracts that are built on Allo protocol. And you might be asking, how do we define the Allo network? How do we define what contracts constitute value flowed within the Allo network? Right now, this data dashboard is defined as things that are Allo protocol, which was the IP that we generated at Gitcoin around capital allocation. But I think that there's an open conversation about defining this in another way, such that anyone built within this network that has some sort of coherence in relation to Allo's thesis, I think we could include as part of this total value flowed calculation. So the data dashboard is already built to support us extending the definition of the Allo network outwards into other capital allocation mechanisms. And I'm looking forward to the conversation over the next couple months about how do we define this Allo network and how do we define how value is flowing through it. Okay, so that is the data update. I'm going to move into the SS&S, which is the start shipping and see. This is basically a document that we've put together in order to organize the work that myself and some of the people at Allo Capital are working on. And basically, the things that we're focused on right now are around these four directives. So basically, one of the ways that I think about this is sort of like a telescope that's focusing energy. We're studying the design space and we're studying people's needs out there and trying to cohere the energy towards creating more heat in this design space. And so the most immediate directive or lens that's focusing energy is on BD and sales. We are trying to find people who will pay Allo.capital to solve their capital allocation problems. So basically trying to help projects that are L1s and L2s and DeFi protocols to cohere their ecosystem using things like quadratic funding, retro funding, direct impact incentives, all different types of capital allocation. And so I think that we really want to help solve these problems in the ecosystem, and while doing so, increase the total value flowed through the Allo Capital ecosystem from there. This is primarily a services organization thus far, but there is a goal eventually to cohere around a product that solves all different types of capital allocation problems. Right now, we're calling that Allo It, and Allo It is very much wet clay. We are going to be unveiling more information about Allo It and figuring out exactly what it looks like at the same time. And I expect that an upcoming Allominati call will be talking a lot about the path from services, well, actually getting services in the door. And then once we have those services in the door, turning that into a product. And that's the second level of coherence that we have in the SS&S. The third category of coherence is category creation and messaging. So basically, this idea that capital allocation is going to be a huge design space I think that I have conviction in it. I see the a priori reason why it's going to be true, because I know that there's going to be a ton more tokenized assets in the next 10 or 15 years. And I just know that those assets are going to want to be allocated towards solving the problems that people in those communities have. But I think that we need to do the task of defining that category for the rest of the world, educating the market, and owning the narrative. And so the things that you've seen out of me over the last couple quarters into the last year is the publishing of books about on-chain capital allocation, the creation of a YouTube channel in which we're actually going through and we're interviewing leaders in the design space about on-chain capital allocation, educating the market, owning the narrative, and defining the category. That's what the coherence around this third lens is of category creation and messaging. And then the fourth is the Allominati. That's the group that we're cohering today, or I guess attempting to cohere today. We are mindful that the goal of where we're going is so big, building the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet, and there's no way that a centralized company or a centralized group of people is going to be able to do it. And I want to create an omni-win Schelling point for the community in which we all help each other. We have a positive sum game that's being played between this group, where we're sharing leads and deals in marketing and cohering our understanding about the capital allocation in an on-chain and AI-driven world in the design space. And I think that the Allominati is sort of like, if you think of these as lenses, I think BD is the most focused that we're doing right now. And then the Allominati is the most wide. We're casting a wide net and finding the other sort of like divergent and interesting personalities that are thinking about things like on-chain capital allocation and trying to connect those people to each other. And a goal of mine is that you all are gaining value by participating in Allo and receiving value from the network. And I think that that's what we're going to talk about a lot with the mechanisms in the second half of the call here. So that's what we've been up to. There's one last thing that I want to talk about before I break from my little monologue, and that's that I want to spotlight what could potentially be a client account for Allo Capital and an area where we can swarm and provide value to the world in the coming months. Gitcoin is going through some big changes right now. Putting on my Gitcoin steward hat, just decided to wind down Grants Lab, which was the primary software development unit within the Gitcoin ecosystem. And this is obviously very hard because we have to say goodbye to a lot of really great friends and people that we love and care for a lot and help them find the next eras of their career. But in its place, we need to figure out what to do about the Gitcoin grants program. GG24 is coming up late summer and early fall. And there's an open question about how do we run GG24? And I'm really excited about going from a relationship where Grants Lab had a monopoly on the deployment of the $1 million program that Gitcoin gives out to a place where there's a pluralistic carnival capital allocation in which we're solving Ethereum's biggest problems. And the people in the Allo Capital network and in the Gitcoin network are coming to help shoulder that burden of allocating capital to those biggest problems, but in so getting distribution for their capital allocation mechanisms through Gitcoin grants. Gitcoin has $22 million left. That's a lot of fucking money to do a lot of fucking good in the world. And I think there's an opportunity for this network to show up and to help Gitcoin allocate capital in 2025 native ways. So on-chain, AI-driven for the world that we have now. And the old Gitcoin was just about quadratic funding. The new Gitcoin can be a pluralistic design space in which we explore how to fund what matters in the 21st century. And I think that it's going to be a great place to show off a lot of the work that the Allo Capital network is generating. So that's my little monologue about what we've been up to. I want to go into the ProtoDAO coordination experiments, which is how we're going to put wood behind the arrow of some of the stuff that we're doing. But before I do, I just wanted to tag my co-founder, Rena, and just say, hey, Rena, how's it going? Is there anything I missed? Anything that you would correct of things that I said? And then we'll go back to the community from there.
No, thanks, Owocki. You nailed it.
Okay, thanks. Will, do you want to step in and tell us about your ProtoDAO coordination experiment? If you're enjoying this episode, please check out the remainder of the episode on the feed hosted at allo.capital. You must be a allo.capital patron NFT holder to hear the rest of the episode. Allo.capital patron NFTs give you access to the Allominati, which is a private community that has access to the Allo DAO's evolution, novel capital allocation, intelligence, and research like this episode, like this podcast, and also research reports that we are publishing at Allo.capital, and early access to builds and other innovations in the Allo community. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear the rest of the episode, check it out at Allo.capital. Peace and love.